In the beginning, the world was a paradise, unspoiled and perfect. The Garden of Eden was a place of unimaginable beauty, where every tree bore fruit that was sweet and nourishing. Rivers of crystal clear water flowed gently, and the air was filled with the harmonious songs of birds. In the midst of this paradise lived Adam and Eve, the first humans created by God to live in peace and harmony with all of creations. Adam and Eve were blessed beyond measure. They walked with God in the cool of the day, their hearts filled with joy and love. They knew no pain, no sorrow, no death. The entire garden was theirs to enjoy, save for one tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God had commanded them, "You may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die." The warning echoed in their minds, but the garden was vast, and there were countless other delights to occupy their time. Yet, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil stood tall and mysterious, its fruit gleaming with an otherworldly allure. One day, as Eve wandered near the tree, she heard a voice, soft and beguiling. It was the voice of the serpent, a creature of cunning and deceit. The serpent slithered closer, its eyes gleaming with malice masked by charm. "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" the serpent asked, its voice smooth as honey. Eve, startled but curious, replied, "We may eat the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden. You must not touch it, or you will die." The serpent's eyes narrowed, and a sly smile curled upon its lips. "You will not surely die," it whispered, its words dripping with deceit. Eve hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. The serpent's words stirred something deep within her, a longing, a curiosity that had never before been awakened. She looked at the fruit, and for the first time, it seemed different, more beautiful, more desirable. She reached out, her hand trembling, and plucked the fruit from the tree. In that moment, the garden seemed to hold its breath. Eve brought the fruit to her lips, and as she bit into it, a rush of knowledge flooded her mind. She suddenly became aware of her own vulnerability, her nakedness, and the vastness of the world beyond the garden. The taste was sweet, but there was an underlying bitterness that she could not ignore. She turned and found Adam standing nearby, watching her with a mixture of confusion and concern. Without a word, she offered him the fruit, and he, trusting in her, took it and ate. As soon as Adam ate the fruit, their eyes were opened, and the full weight of what they had done descended upon them. The world around them seemed to darken, the vibrant colors of the garden fading into dullness. They felt shame for the first time, and in their newfound awareness, they realized they were naked. Hastily, they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. In the cool of the day, God walked through the garden, calling out, "Adam, where are you?" Adam and Eve hid themselves among the trees, their hearts heavy with guilt and fear. But they could not hide from God. He found them and asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam, his voice trembling, said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Eve, looking down in shame, added, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." God's voice thundered with sorrow and anger. He cursed the serpent, condemning it to crawl on its belly and be an enmity with humanity. He told Eve that her pain in childbirth would be greatly increased and that her desire would be for her husband, who would rule over her. To Adam, he said that the ground would be cursed because of him, and that by the sweat of his brow he would eat his food until he returned to the ground from which he was taken. Then, with a heavy heart, God made garments of skin for Adam and Eve to clothe them. He said, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." So, God banished them from the Garden of Eden, placing cherubims and a flaming sword that turned everywhere to guard the way to the tree of life. Adam and Eve left the garden, their hearts filled with sorrow and regret. The paradise they had known was lost to them, but they carried with them the knowledge of good and evil and the heavy burden of their choices. The world outside the garden was harsh and unforgiving, but they faced it together, knowing that the path they had chosen would shape the destiny of all who came after them. And thus began the long journey of humanity, forever seeking redemption for the sin that was born in the hearts of paradise.